It's great to welcome to the program today Michael Cohen. Michael is the former personal attorney to Donald Trump, also author of the book Disloyal, a memoir, and host of the Mea Culpa podcast. It's really great having you on. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's good to see you, David. How you doing, pal?
I'm doing well. Last time you and I spoke was on your program, and you said two things that were interesting. I'm wondering if you still feel the same way. One was you do believe that ultimately Donald Trump is going to be indicted, and two, that you do not think that he is going to run for president in 2024. That was a few months ago. Do you still feel the same way?
Yeah, I actually do. Nothing has changed other than the great American grift by Donald and cohorts, whereby, their whole intent is to make you believe that they're going to run in 2024. Because the second that they tell you that we're not, that's when the spigot of funds from all of these Republican fools that are standing behind Donald will end up shutting off.
What is that the only reason to keep the grift going right now, that he may run just to keep fundraising? Is that all there is to it?
Yeah, otherwise, what else is there for him? He knows he's not running because he can't afford to lose a second time. You see, again, the big lie is only promoted by the notion that the election was stolen from him. If in fact the election was not stolen from him, what happens to the big lie? You can't say in 2024, oh, they stole it from me again. It's almost like, holy right? Quite frankly, they did it to us again. They did it again. And it just doesn't work anymore. The first time, like the old expression, first time, shame on you. Second time, shame on me. Well, this one would be a shame on me moment. And Donald can't afford that. And statistically, he already knows that he can't win the general election.
On the criminal stuff, who's going to charge him and for what crimes? I think is the most common question I get when the topic of that comes up. What are the answers to those questions?
Well, it makes sense, David, that that's the number one question that comes through. It happens to be the number one question that everybody keeps asking me. Unfortunately, I don't discuss the sum and substance of the district attorney or the attorney general's case here in New York. The things that we do know is that it's predicated upon valuation of assets, using those valuations for loans and other things. But there's also then the second half, which is the devaluation of the identical assets for tax purpose.
Okay, so without getting into detail about your involvement, it's not the obstruction stuff that people are talking about during the presidency. It's not, we're talking about financial stuff here from the business.
Well, that's what we're talking about with the district attorney. The district attorney of the state of New York would have absolutely no jurisdiction over the January 6th insurrection. That's clearly federal.
When you, I mean, just for context for people who may or may not know, I mean, you had a long history of supporting Democratic candidates for a very long time, right? I mean, how do you define your personal politics?
David, I've been a Democrat my entire life. In 1987, I worked for Congressman Joe Moakley of Massachusetts while I was attending American University. I have been a Democrat my entire life until ultimately I was required to switch parties during the campaign because, actually, I should say post the campaign, because I was the first Democrat who held the position as vice chair of the RNC Finance Committee. And they just couldn't accept that. I mean, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And so
They said we can't have a Democrat running the finance committee for the,
it
yeah.
just, well, yeah. Fortunately for them, it was being run by Steve Wynn, who just did a remarkable job in terms of fundraising. It was Steve Wynn, myself, it was Elliot Broidy, and Lou DeJoy, right? It was really the four of us, and obviously they couldn't have a Democrat on that team.
So in the last 24 to 48 hours, we heard about these text messages that were allegedly sent to the former chief of staff, Mark Meadows, on the day of the January 6th insurrection. It included Laura Ingraham, the Fox News host, texting Meadows and saying, this is looking really bad.
Hey, David, I'm sorry. Do we pronounce it? Is it Ingram or is it Ingraham? I mean, I've heard people say both. Personally, I can't stand her either way. I don't care. I don't care how you pronounce the last name. I'm just trying to to get an expert, meaning yourself. I'm trying to get an expert analysis on this.
I've said Ingraham, and people say that that's not correct.
Because I've heard it. I hear it as Ingraham. I hear it as Ingram. Like I said, I can't stand her either way. It doesn't make a difference to me. But I just want to at least pronounce the name right.
So she was texting Mark Meadows on the 6th. Sean Hannity was texting. Don Jr., instead of texting his dad, was texting Mark Meadows. For me, the most interesting thing about those text messages is that the story that they told after about it might have been Antifa and it was really no big deal. They obviously knew on January 6th that it was Trump supporters that were there. What else do you make of the fact that so many people from Fox were texting Mark Meadows as this was going on?
What? Are you shocked? Is there anything about that question that shocks you? That Fox and Newsmax and OANN wouldn't be lying about this? Seriously? I mean, for God's sakes, the whole thing, again, it was an insurrection. And what we know now as a direct result is that 187 minutes transpired before dear old Donald came out and said, hey, I want everybody to disperse, go home. And that's because he had his fun over those 3 hours, watching these MAGA fools running around in paramilitary gear, right? Beating up on police officers out there with these massive MAGA flags and Trump 2020 and, God knows what other stupid, swanky swag shit that they thought that they were wearing, running around, all right, for the benefit of who? Their Fuhrer, Donald. And for some unknown reason, the guy sat there in the White House, in our house, watching this shit on television and thinking that it was okay, that this is good, that he's going to somehow stop the electoral decision process from declaring Joe Biden as the president of the United States, and that somehow he would be reinserted as president of the United States for another 4 years, despite the fact that he lost by close to, 9 million votes, and that the electoral count was an absolute ass beating.
The stories from that day are that all sorts of people were urging him, do this, do this, do that, and that he was ignoring it, at least for a while. When you were working for him, was that a common occurrence where you would go and say, this is not good for you, we need to do ABC, and that he would just ignore it on the idea that he knows more than you do?
Right. So Donald knows more than everybody. Let's just look back, because the reason why I'm so successful in predicting Donald Trump's stupidity is because, first and foremost, I graduated valedictorian from Trump University. All right. That's first and foremost. Second, it's because nothing with him is original. It's all like a regurgitation of past shit coming out. So, yes, Donald Trump does not listen to anyone. Donald Trump knows more than everyone. Let's look at some of the things that he said. He knows more about epidemiology, though he didn't use the word because he doesn't know the word, nor can he spell it.
Right.
But he knows more about science than the scientists. Again, referring at that point in time to epidemiologist extraordinaire, Dr. Anthony Fauci, and the COVID virus. He knew more about it. What else does dear old douchebag Donald know more about? He knows more about military and strategy than our generals. I mean, if you're not scratching your head at this point while watching the show and saying, come on, seriously? Get the out of here already. You know more about seemingly everything than anybody else, and yet you're an expert in nothing. Right? Why don't we talk about since you know so much, how Trump vodka do? How Trump mortgage do? Right? How did, Trump steaks do? How did Trump suits do? How did Trump anything do? The brand is worthless because, truth be told, he showed himself for what he really is. And I say it all the time. He's a racist, sexist, misogynistic, xenophobic, homophobic, Islamophobic, anti-Semitic, germaphobe. That's who he is. And so how you could expect that this is going to be the guy that knows more about everybody and everything, it's just not true. In fact, what do we know? he's ignorant, and he's arrogant.
Hey, on the just to pick one of those 10 things, on the anti-Semitism stuff, you were his personal lawyer for a while. His daughter converted to Judaism. His son-in-law is Jewish. His grandkids from them are Jewish. There's sometimes there are people I've met who harbor anti-Semitic beliefs, but they sort of want to be in league with Jews for lightly anti-Semitic reasons, like they think they're clever. Like the Saudis, for example, now are very interested in doing business with certain hedge funds that are run by Jewish individuals. Can you talk a little bit about the seeming inconsistency between the number of Jewish folks in his family and what you believe to be his anti-Semitism?
Okay. First of all, in order to sort of care about the Jewish people, in order to care about, forget about his workers, right?
Okay.
Myself, Alan Weisselberg, Alan Garten, Larry Glick, and a whole slew of other individuals at the Trump organization in high ranking positions, right? Being Jewish, he doesn't care. If you're able to accomplish what he needs, he wouldn't care what race, religion. Well, actually, he wouldn't care what religion that you are. But yes, he does find Jews to be clever. And so that was something his father taught him, that they're okay if you work for him. Now, as far as Ivanka, obviously becoming Jewish, converting, now being, what do you call it? Orthodox, but modern Orthodox, having the three, Jewish grandchildren. Why Donald Trump doesn't care? Because in order to care about somebody else's religion, you have to care about your own. And Donald Trump does not care about his own religion because he had no religious upbringing. Nor does it, when he turns around and he's holding the Bible, it's another lie. And he says, I know more about, Corinthian 2. And so, the guy never went to church. The guy went to church for maybe his confirmation and then stopped, but he doesn't have religious convictions. Therefore, when people say to me, oh, but his grandkids are Jewish, so clearly he can't be anti-Semitic. It's the stupidest comment that somebody could make. You can't care about Christianity if you don't care about your own religion. You can't care about Islam if you don't care about your own religion. That's just a fact. He has no religious conviction at all, could care less, not just about his grandkids or his daughter's religion, but he doesn't care about his daughter or his grandkids either.
Wow. Okay.
By the way, he didn't give a shit. He didn't give a shit about his own children throughout his entire life. Let me just back it up with facts. Something that I continuously do, despite the fact some people want to hear it, and those that do already despise the fucking guy anyway, and those that don't, again, would allow him to shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and get away with it. He walked out on his three children. That's okay. Many people get divorced. I get it. He walked out on them, but he basically had little to nothing to do with them. He was an absentee father all along. Don then went to the Hill after Hill school. Then Ivanka went away to boarding school, came back. Then Eric, as soon as that he was old enough, went off to boarding school as well. Then he has Tiffany from Marla, sends her off to California, barely sees her maybe once a year on her birthday. They speak. All of a sudden now it's daddy, daddy, daddy. Oh, I loved him. He was such a great father. That's not the she used to tell all of her friends, right? And now you have Barron. When was the last time you saw Barron? When was the last time, if I was president of the United States, I'd be throwing a baseball with my kid, right? Because that's my son's sport. Right? Or we'd be tossing around a football. I would probably even build a tennis court in the backyard so my son and I could hit, or my daughter. And so when you see my children, you never see Barron anywhere. He barely has anything to do with that child either. Right? Now all of a sudden he's going to worry about his grandkids? Donald Trump doesn't care about anyone or anything other than himself. Period. Drop the mic.
Michael, last thing I want to talk about, because this has been the source of such controversy. You were a character in the infamous Steele dossier. And specifically in the dossier, the allegation was you went to Prague you met with either or both Russian officials or those who hacked the DNC, and you were involved there. Now you've said it's not even a distortion, it's just not true. You've never been to Prague, right?
I've never been to Prague. I've never been to anywhere in the Czech Republic. I don't even believe, because my geography is not great, but they claim that I came into Prague through Germany. I've never been to Germany. In fact, David, I've never even been to Russia.
And so, do you know why that ended up in the dossier, aside from anything else being true or false? Do you even know the origin of that?
Yeah. So the Steele dossier, as it relates to me, and everybody says, well, there were things in the Steele dossier that are accurate or potentially accurate, therefore we can't discount it completely. And I say, that's fair. That's fair for you to say. But let me only bring up the 11 allegations raised about me, more than anybody else. None of them are accurate. It's bullshit. Christopher Steele is a joke as an MI6 agent who supposedly had contacts and had information and knowledge that was relevant to this. Christopher Steele's a joke. The MI6 should be embarrassed of this document. They should be embarrassed that he ever worked for them. It's just absolutely untrue. I have said it since day number one. It has been proven by the FBI that I was never there. Right? You may even recall that somewhere along the line, somebody put out, oh, it was another Michael Cohen that was there and so on. But yet they could never produce that Michael Cohen's passport. I just wasn't there. In fact, where was I? I was in Los Angeles, California with my family, with my son, who was looking to play baseball as a pitcher for USC Trojans. And we met with the entire coaching staff. He was being looked at. And so, I know for a fact that you can't be in two places at once, and I don't have a twin brother. So, I don't even know where this came from. And yet, it was just used and promoted on and on and on, because this, of course, would have been a big deal. Now, some of the things that I testified before the House Oversight Committee, as well as to the select committees of intelligence by both the House, the Senate, and other committees and other law enforcement agencies, was that I was never in Prague. However, the dissemination of the Podesta emails, I testified, that came from Roger Stone in a phone call. Why that was never followed through, I don't know the answer. It's so infuriating when I see now that Democrats have the House, right? Meaning the White House, put the Attorney General Merrick Garland onto it. Roger Stone contacted Donald. I was there. He put it on the speaker box and he said nothing shy of, in a couple of, I just got off the phone with what's his name? With WikiLeaks,
Julian Assange,
with Julian Assange, and in a couple of days, there's going to be a massive dump of emails that's going to destroy the Clinton campaign. And Donald was like, okay, that's great, right? Then after, when he hung up on Roger, he said to me, you believe it? I said, listen, Roger's a bullshit artist, right? It's why, of course, you call him the dirty trickster. But listen, with Roger, you never know. And lo and behold, what was it, 2-3 days later, massive dump of Podesta's emails. Did it hurt Hillary's campaign? It sure did. Did it destroy it? No, I don't think it destroyed it, but it was every single thing that Roger Stone stated.
Make sure you listen to Michael Cohen's podcast, the Mea Culpa podcast. The book is Disloyal, a memoir. Michael, I really appreciate your time today. Thank you so much for doing it.
David, really good to see you, and stay safe out there.